Kia ora, good morning. I want to talk about something that everybody knows about, but nobody knows about correctly. It is a very common paranormal phenomenon that is so misinterpreted that the misinterpretation of it has made it a lot worse than what it actually is. And that is poltergeist activity. So I'm going to explain to you what a poltergeist is, and then I'm going to explain to you how you can stop poltergeist activity, because you can stop it, because it is a psychological phenomenon. All paranormal activity comes from the psyche, the human psyche. Now, I just looked up to see if the definition of what a poltergeist is has changed at all, whether the information has been updated, and it pretty much hasn't. But as an occult scientist, I can tell you what we do know about poltergeists, and then I'm going to tell you how to fix it. So, obviously, the common understanding of what a poltergeist is a ghost or spirit that makes noises, rapping sounds, and can move objects. But when you look at what the word ghost or spirit is, it basically just means the essence of energy, the essence of something that has no physical form but is known to exist. So like when your favourite auntie comes to stay and she brings that life and that energy to the house because she's the fun one. I speak from experience because I'm the cool auntie. I'm the one that, like, when I come in around my nieces and nephews, I'm like a whirlwind of excitement and fun and laughter, and I'm the rebel because I'm the baby of the family. So I completely disrupt everyone's lives because I come in like the Tasmanian devil, and because I liven things up, right? And then when I leave, my presence is still felt. Even though I'm not there anymore, my energy is still felt. That's my ghost. That's my spirit. The energy that I left behind imprinted on the atmosphere. Well, I mean, that's pretty much the same thing as paranormal activity. The explanation of the paranormal ghost and spirit is like the feeling of the essence or the energy of something that once was there that can no longer be seen. Or you feel it before you see it. A lot of people say they know when I'm coming. They can feel me coming because I'm such a force de jour. But it's the same thing. The word ghost and spirit just means the essence of energy of something that can be seen, that can't be seen but can be felt. So that's pretty much what the word ghost and spirit means. The misunderstanding comes from the fact that people think that a poltergeist is the essence of a human that once was living but is now no longer there. And that is completely untrue. It is 100% a fallacy that poltergeist activity comes from the dead, because the dead can't roam the earth, and if they could move objects and slam doors and throw their voice and that sort of thing, it would require so much energy. It would pretty much take out the whole grid system of your neighbourhood in order for them just to be able to speak, right? So they don't do that. When the dead want to communicate, 99.9% of the time they do it through your sleep or through thoughts and memories, or they'll play songs, or they'll do something to trigger that memory that you have that connection with them, and then like boom, you're right there. So what I can tell you about the truth about poltergeist is that what we do know is that most of the poltergeist activity is surrounded around pubescent and prepubescent teenagers. Tripping over my words. Pubescent and prepubescent teenagers. What people need to understand, if you are experiencing poltergeist activity, there's immediately a checklist that you have to go through. Okay, the first thing, when you're hearing voices, when you're hearing footsteps, when you're hearing knocking, rapping, that sort of thing, the first thing you have to ask yourself is, are there kids or teenagers in the house? What I tell people is anyone under the age of 22. Is there anyone in the house or who has been in the house under the age of 22? If the answer is yes, then you say to yourself, what are they going through? Because in my experience and my observation, there hasn't been a single case reported of poltergeist activity where there hasn't been children involved, where there hasn't been some sort of disruption to the family, like going through divorce, failing grades at school, being bullied at school, a breakup relationship, discontent within the family, poverty, single parent family, maybe where mum's struggling to pay the bills, working a couple of jobs, that sort of thing. There's always mitigating circumstances happening within the home that are feeding into the energy. What people need to understand as well is that a child isn't technically alive until they finish puberty, because they, when you think of like a butterfly, it starts as, the egg and then the larva and then the caterpillar and then it goes into the cocoon and then it comes out a butterfly. So a child is no different. Until they finish puberty, in the eyes of God, they are technically still pure and of spirit. They're still innocent and pure and of spirit. It's only society that will feed them the drama and the energy that they then manifest and turn into like kinetic feedback. And poltergeist activity is pure, unadulterated kinetic energy. We call poltergeist activity like the kinetic energy that comes from it off the human mind bullets, because we know that it's the mind that is causing the energy to fire off the brain like energy bullets. So they're called mind bullets, and whatever they hit, obviously they affect, and energy has to go somewhere. Energy can't just manifest and then stop and break away. Even when you break the current of energy, of the flow of energy, it has to go somewhere, and the further it travels, the more it dissipates, but it will always leave remnants behind, because all forces are made of atoms in some form or another, depending on its structural makeup. And obviously, the more you tear an atom apart, the more it breaks down. But in the soul core of its existence, there is still going to be negative and positive particles in the atmosphere, because atoms are magnetic, and electricity sticks sticks like a magnet to the ion particles in the atmosphere. And obviously, where there is air, where there is wind, where there is movement, where there is seasons, it will move that energy along and dissipate it, but the remnants will always be there like a fingerprint. It's the same way as like with Chernobyl, how they were able to pick up radiation from that like continents away. They were able to feel the effects of the radiation in that, all across Europe, because energy travels, and depending on the type of energy, obviously depends on the effect that it has in the atmosphere and the people in the atmosphere within its biomagnetic parameter. So kinetic energy is fired off the mind. of somebody who is going through a great deal of stress, someone who is repressing either anger or sadness or fear or, worry, stress, that sort of thing. If there's no children in the house, then the next thing you look at is, have there been children in the house? Has there been anyone in the house that is going through a really difficult situation? Usually it's within 48 hours of the person leaving the property. You'll start to feel the effects of the energy they left behind. So if you suddenly start feeling depressed, like, you were doing really well, and then all of a sudden for no reason, you're depressed or sad or scared, and you don't know where it's come from, you immediately need to look at who you've been around within the last 48 hours. And then you have to kind of like do a checklist. What are they going through? How have they been acting? We all know the signs of somebody who's going through depression, because most people that we're around will talk about their problems or what's going on or what's on their mind. So then you can eliminate the person depending on what they're going through. And if you're a creative empath, especially if you're an empathic person, you're a magnet for that kind of energy. Because you reflect what you absorb, and empaths and creative empaths especially absorb everything like a SpongeBob SquarePants. So if then the answer is no to that you haven't, there's not been any children in the house within 48 hours, that you've not been around anyone who's been, depressed or blah, 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 and you've absorbed it and taken it home, or, they've been in the house, and, that's the remnants of their energy being felt coming through as poltergeist activity, then you need to look at the history of the house or the property. And then that's when, you would need to do, if it turns out there was a murder there, and for a fact, you can tell that, it is a trapped soul, someone who hasn't crossed over, and how you can tell the difference is that when it is someone who is genuinely crossed over and their soul is trapped, it's usually because they either died so suddenly and unexpectedly they didn't have time to prepare for their passing, or they're too afraid to cross over for the fear of consequences. So you'll often find in houses where murders took place, or where there were serial killers, and that, people get that uneasy feeling, and they might, see the occasional thing out of the corner of their eye, or hear, the screams of the murder or whatever. That's the stone tape theory. That is the buildings and the organic materials of that property has absorbed that shock, has absorbed the death, has absorbed the sudden passing, and either the victim hasn't crossed over, they're stuck between realms, or the effects of what happened hasn't been allowed to, hasn't been cleansed, and hasn't been alleviated off the organic materials, because like I was saying, atoms are organic, and anything that is organic, biological, and natural is made up of atoms, and energy sticks to atoms very, very easily. And depending on whether it's a positive, positive ion particles drag the atmosphere down, and negative ion particles raise the vibration. And in order to deal with it, you need to flip it. So obviously, if you're wanting to remove the positive ion particles in the atmosphere, you have to raise the vibration by doing the opposite, by flipping the switch, by adding negative ion particles, which is raising the vibration with, one of the 4 highest frequencies, which is also how you deal with poltergeist activity. So in the same way that you would deal with a trapped spirit, if you're not buying my products, because my products you'll be, when I sell my products, my rehua spray and my tane clay, when you are able to buy them, the stuff that we're going to be selling in the Alchemist Cavern, there are things you can do in the meantime to help alleviate the stress of the situation by raising the vibration. And you do the exact same thing with poltergeist activity, because you're dealing with someone who's suffering and they're not expressing it properly. So you have to encourage them to express it properly. Now, obviously, there are loads of cases where paranormal activity has occurred where it hasn't involved children. It's not predominantly children, but it is, sorry, it's not solely children. It can be, adults as well. It's predominantly children. It's statistically more children under the age of 22 are going to be the cause of poltergeist activity than not. But it's not exclusive to children under the age of 22. Your brain doesn't stop going through all its chemical changes until you're around about 22. So in the eyes of God and all that, you're technically not even really born until you finish going through puberty. Up until then, depending on how your family and your society shape you, you're considered pure and innocent. Obviously, we know a lot of kids and teenagers and that have done really bad things, but that's because they were shaped by the household and the society around them. They came out moths and not butterflies. So the chemicals in their brain were changed in a way that affected like their dorso, um, dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, and like the cerebellum and all that, how they act to emotion, how they act to whether they show empathy, they know the difference between right or wrong, that sort of thing. And a lot of children are put in situations before their brain has had a chance to develop, which creates kind of like an energetic brain damage. And so they don't know how to respond to stress and, like anger and calming their emotions and, dealing with like the parents going through divorce, or, the stress of financial burdens on the parents, or, whatever. So always look at who's in the house and what they're going through. If you can't find any reasonable explanation within the home or property, look at who has been there within the last 48 hours. Once you zero in on the probable cause, that's when you have to raise the vibration by changing the frequency in the atmosphere to a higher vibration. The 4 highest vibrations in the universe is love, laughter, music, and faith. Now, in a lot of reported paranormal activity, the people feeling the effects of them come from usually quite actually very religious backgrounds. But the reason why it doesn't work is because it's usually that the backgrounds that they're from, the households they're in, the parents are very strict Christians or very strict Catholics. They're very strict in their faith. And so the reason why the praying and the Bible and the exorcisms and, the priest coming in and that doesn't work is because the person creating the poltergeist activity, or even the person who is going through, quote unquote, possessions, which is like a dissension psychosis, therefore they manifest everything because their brain power is so powerful because of the chemicals in their brains changing, the way that the energy fuels their brain. They can do all sorts of things that are nothing short of supernatural. But it is all based on the psyche of the mind of the person who's experiencing it, the cause of it. And the reason why priests and praying and crosses and Bibles and churches and exorcisms and all that won't work is because the person creating the paranormal activity or feeling the effects of the possession or whatever have lost faith in God. Maybe when they first started experiencing things, they would pray and it wasn't working. Their prayers weren't being answered. Therefore, it, made them angrier, made them more depressed, made them lose faith. And this is why my Father has sent me here. This is why I am what I am and do what I do, because God expressly says in the Bible that He wants to have a personal connection with everyone who believes in Him, and not to have to go to churches and not have to go to temple and not have to go through priests and ministers and popes and cardinals and reverends and all of that, because the middleman has it wrong. The go-between, the medium between you and him, hasn't understood the Bible correctly, because a lot of the Bible isn't his word, it's other people's opinions. It's the opinions that came off scholars and prophets based on scriptures from cultures all around the world, that formulated this idea of who they thought God was and what they thought his message was, based on other cultures, religions and faiths and that sort of thing, and they got it wrong. And then, of course, the occult, with like devil worshippers and witches and, the witchcraft and all that nonsense, they got it wrong as well. Because they, most people still believe that the sun is male and the moon is female, and it's just not. And even my Egyptian ancestors got that wrong. We got stuff wrong. And it's no one's fault, other than obviously the ones that force the indoctrination of their faith or religion on other people. And that's why God has sent me, because I'm here to recorrect the wrongs that history made, that has led people down the wrong path. And as a result, we're dealing with all this ridiculous amount of paranormal activity everywhere we go, and people are feeding into the fear, because people are drawn in by the macabre and the the unknown and the unexplained. And it's human nature to be curious. It's human nature, we need it, like it's a driven need, it's an instinct in us to want to understand death so we know how to avoid it. Where there are unseen predators out there, it's our natural instinct to want to know what it is and the signs of it, to avoid it, because it goes back to when we weren't the apex predator on the planet, when we had to, when how you see faces in objects, pareidolia, that is a primal instinct that we have from when we were not the apex predator, when we were the prey, and we couldn't see the eyes, in the bushes, in the shadows, in the forests, when we came down from our trees and that sort of thing. We couldn't see the things that wanted to eat us because they were very good at hiding. And that instinct has carried over as we evolved to become human. So when we feel something that is off or unnatural or unexplainable, we have that primal instinct to want to investigate it, want to know what it is. And obviously, because it's to keep us alive. And it's usually the ones who, brave coming down off the tree or go off to venture, that usually get eaten first. So it's human instinct to be fascinated by death. It's human instinct to be curious by the unseen and the unexplained, because when we know what it is that we're dealing with, it helps us protect ourselves and our family and our core territory. So poltergeist activity is pretty much a person with a broken heart's primal scream coming out in the form of kinetic energy. So, and the same with a trapped spirit, when someone was murdered, and you're still hearing their screams, or you can hear their body hitting the ground and that sort of thing. It's up to you to change the frequency by raising the vibration. And how you do that is one of the four. Obviously, if the person has lost faith, if they come from a religious background, if bringing God, and maybe they don't even believe in God, and that's completely fine. You don't have to believe in God. You don't have to call him God. He doesn't care if you don't call him God. He just wants you to call him something. Your ancestors, the universe, atoms, um, nursery rhymes, whatever it is you need to believe that makes you happy and healthy and balanced and a better person, whatever it is you need to call him, your creator, the name that you call him, that's all he cares about. He doesn't care what you believe, he just cares that you believe. As long as what you believe is making you happy and whole and the best version of yourself, he doesn't care if you call him a tree, because he is atom and atoms are in everything. If your God is music, then he is the frequency. If your God is just, I don't believe in God, I just go around loving everyone, well, God is love. Do you see what I mean? God doesn't care what you call him. My father doesn't care what you call him. You could call him her, because atoms are atoms and atoms are biological. And if it's biological and organic, that's God. God simply means to create. Okay? So then what you do is you add love to that person's life. When you start showing compassion, when you start showing love to that person, when you listen to them, when you help take their mind off what they're going through, it raises their vibration and the paranormal activity will stop. Once the person going through it has an understanding that everything's going to be okay, that everything has been resolved, even if it is that they bring a priest or a minister in and he does a blessing, if that works for them, once it's settled in their brain that the situation has been dealt with, the poltergeist activity will stop. When the priest is coming in with the love of God, when the minister is coming in with the love of God, if that works for that person, it's that love that cured it, that stopped it, not the priest. The person found faith in the love of God. If the priest or the minister or whatever, if it didn't work, then they're needing love, they're needing compassion, they're needing understanding. So do things like, put on their favorite cartoons, play cartoons, I'm I I'm often described by tarot readers as a child. They will often see me in their readings as a child. Obviously, I'm on the scope for a lot of readers because I plan to employ quite a few readers in my Miss Mouse's brew house, right? I've got like this whole thing planned. Because everything I do, everything that we create is, based on the paranormal, the supernatural, the occult, right? And um, uh, cultural tradition and, indigeny and all of that. My whole empire is based on all of that. The whole conglomerate of what the supernatural, paranormal, the occult, faith, religion, all of that is based, is all the ingredients of my entertainment factory and what we're producing. So, because I'm around a lot of very serious things, I keep my life very light. I'm very light-hearted because when I have to deal with the dark stuff, when I have to collect a soul, when I have to turn into the bounty hunter, it's very stressful. It can be very upsetting. It's not nice when you have to break a soul down and take them to hell. It's not nice to do that because I live in the realms of, love and light. And when you have to, rip the soul out of someone to prepare them for judgment, knowing that they're going to go to Satan, that's heartbreaking because God's lost another one. And we're trying to recruit people. I'm trying to recruit people to follow the light, you know, and unfortunately we're in a world right now where we're surrounded by more darkness than light. So it's up to people like me to be the pockets of light of inspiration for people, because I'm trying to save souls. I'm trying to show people, you know, the truth and the light so that they can find salvation in a higher power. Um, because with so many government leaders, politicians, prime ministers, and all that wanting war and, you know, paying for the funding of human trafficking and, you know, child sacrifices and all the occult stuff that's going on, the P. Diddy, the Epsteins, the Hollywoods, you know, the Elon Musk, the Starmers, the all of it, the Macrons and the Weffers and Hoofers of the world and all that, they are a world submerged in darkness. And I'm trying to save people by showing them the light. So when I'm around the darkness, because I've been around the human trafficking and, you know, the child sacrifices and that for a long time, and I've been dealing with the paranormal and all of that since I was a little kid. I've got stories that I could tell you from when I was 4, 5, 6 years old that I remember, based around the paranormal, that triggered my whole need to want to understand what it was I was witnessing and experiencing, hence why I'm an occult scientist now, right? But that was because God was leading me to it, because he needed me to get this message out there that I'm putting out there in my videos and all that. But having to deal with people like Elon Musk, who was has such a strong hold on my X account, like he was burying all my posts, and like it would say I had 2 views, but there would be a glitch that would say that actually that I had over 200,000 views. But because he was trying to stop me from getting it out there, because obviously, you know, he's a representative of Baphomet and he doesn't hide it. He knows he's the Antichrist. He's never hidden that fact. He's very blatantly, you know, outspoken about the fact that he is anti-God and, you know, is a representative of Baphomet. So I'm a threat to him, because the more people he can lie to and the more people he can manipulate through his words and, you know, through dangling the glitter and the promise of money and riches and, you know, look at me, the fake gold, the fool's gold, the more people that he can convince that he's the good guy, the more people look away from people like me, because God's never going to put any of us in position where we're going to be, you know, sparkly and spangly. And I always say, all that glitters isn't gold, and all that's gold doesn't glitter. And people, you look at Jesus, he wasn't sparkly. He didn't have the bling, you know. The representatives of God, of, you know, the true nature, the true order of love and innocence and purity, and that aren't spangly. We don't glitter. Our word glitters, you know, our energy is enough. Whereas people like Elon Musk, who don't understand empathy, have to fake it through how they present themselves. So how he dresses, how he acts is the fake gold. Whereas you don't even see what I look like mostly. Like, my stuff is very humble. My following is tiny compared to his. But the people who follow me because they know that my word is very powerful and impactful. That I inspire change in people. And that's what people like Keir Starmer and Elon Musk and that don't want. Because then when you inspire change in people, you inspire people to act. And they don't want people acting against them. They want people to just sit down, shut up, and conform to what it is they're trying to tell you, which is all the opposite of God. All of these world leaders out there, there's not one of them who is a true representative of God or even a believer of God. And therefore, I am the threat, because I'm the one that evokes change in people, because I'm the one that has come here with my simple little message to inspire and create change in the minds of individuals. whereas they have to do things to blind or threaten the masses. I'm going around doing it one by one by one by one until word spreads. And when the word spreads, it spreads like wildfire. So always do what you do for these people in a place of pure love. Do it from a place of pure intention, because it's honest, and the creation frequency, the highest frequencies, only respond to truth. Anything that isn't truth has a negative impact and adds weight and gravity to any and all situations, which then creates darkness, which is what the person experiencing or creating the poltergeist activity is around. They're around darkness. They will often become withdrawn, become very isolated, and they might sort of stop eating, and they become ill and angry and all that. That's because they are saturated in darkness because of what they're absorbing. And the only way, with them trying to figure out what's wrong with me, why is this happening, creating that fear and that paranoia builds up kinetic energy, which then comes firing off the body, and they don't even realize they're doing it. So um, slam doors, slam cupboards, things will go flying off shelves, moving chairs across the floor, moving objects. Kinetic energy, when it pushes off the body, it has to go somewhere, and it will move things. I've got to be honest and say, probably about 80% of the quote-unquote poltergeist activity on YouTube is fake, and I can always spot the fakes. You can always spot the fakes. They're so obvious because it tends to kinetic energy pushes things out. It doesn't move things towards you. So if you have videos where someone's sitting there and something moves towards them, that's not kinetic energy. Kinetic energy pushes out. So it's, things moving, like chairs moving across the floor, cupboards opening and things flying out of the cupboard. That's kinetic energy. The tapping and knocking and all that, throwing of the voices, that's kinetic energy. It's called throwing voices because it comes up out of you, which is kinetic. Kinetic pushes out. Like, a bullet doesn't fire into the barrel of the gun, it fires out. So it's called a mind bullet because it fires out, right? So then what you need to do is you need to surround them with love and light, and, play music and get them to watch their, oh, do you remember when you used to love this cartoon? And, do things to elevate their mood. And if they don't want to watch the movies and that, then, play music, sing. If they have favourite songs, encourage them maybe to go and see their favourite band, but go with them, obviously, but encourage them to change their mind, change their mindset. When they change their mindset, they change their vibration, and it raises their vibration, and then the poltergeist activity will stop. Love, laughter, music, and faith. So I've explained it all now. Feed them their favourite food, take them to their favourite places, remind them of when things were more innocent, remind them of things of when, they were more relaxed and calm and happy, and trigger memories in them that, invoke good feelings in them. Get out the photo albums and, remind them of when they were kids, tell stories and make them laugh and all that sort of thing. And now, because you've got this video, show them this video so that they know that it's not them, and that they're not bad people, and they're not possessed, and they're not evil. They are just dealing with something going on in their life that they don't know how to express, that they don't know how to handle, and once they find an outlet for it, everything will stop and everything will return back to normal. Guaranteed. So one of the reasons why I'm building my foundation, my creative art school, is because I know how to deal with this stuff. And because I'm going to be taking kids, under the age of 19, a lot of these kids are going to come to me having dealt with a lot of paranormal activity. A lot of parents will be sending them to me because of this stuff. We don't know how to deal with it anymore because they keep saying they're hearing voices. They keep saying they're seeing ghosts and, blah, 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 and we don't know what to do anymore. We don't want to put them on the medication. We don't want to, send them to therapy. We don't want to put them in hospitals because, we just want to understand what's going on. That's what I'm here for, because I need to get these kids out of these hospitals and off the medication and out of the therapy, because they're being told by people they're supposed to trust that there's something wrong with them when there's not at all. It's just other people have put burdens on them that they shouldn't be carrying. They're carrying the baggage of the burdens of other people around them, of the adults around them mostly, that they shouldn't be carrying. And it's up to the parents, it's up to the schools and the adults to fix what they broke in these children, because children should not be worrying about whether mum's going to be able to put food on the table. Children shouldn't be worrying about the electricity bill or, having holes in their shoes. Children shouldn't be taking on those burdens. Children should not be listening to their parents fighting before they get a divorce or after they get a divorce. Children shouldn't be worrying about visitation rights. Children should be playing with their friends, writing, drawing, playing with their dolls, listening to their music, hanging out with their mates, going to the movies, skimming rocks across rivers, riding their bikes, learning to drive, having crushes and not worrying about keeping up with the Joneses and not worrying about, going to school hungry and that sort of thing, or not worrying about whether someone in their family is going to touch them inappropriately. It's up to the parents to be responsible, whether you're a single parent or not, to protect the health and well-being of the children in their care. Even if they're friends that have come over to visit, it is up to the parents to be responsible for taking care of the child who has come to visit, because they are then the official guardian while they're in their care. So all of this paranormal activity and all these kids that are then turning to Ouija boards and doing seances and all that, they are inviting the darkness in, that they then open doors to things in the recesses of their mind they don't know how to handle, and then all hell breaks loose. And then the parents don't know what to do, so then they turn to the schools or the counsellors, who immediately put them on the medication or put them in the mental homes that they don't deserve to be in, all simply because adults put the burdens of their inability to organise their lives and deal with the stresses that they have in their life on their children, and that is unfair. So what you need to do is, once you've identified where it's coming from and what you need to do to fix it, you then have to look at yourself and realise maybe you're letting your children be a part of something that you as an adult shouldn't be letting them be a part of. Obviously, if they are around domestic violence, that is completely different. If they are experiencing it, and that obviously you're all going through it together, so then it's all up to you to fix it together, okay? But if it's because, you're like, for example, the kids are going to school hungry, but you're smoking cigarettes, then that's your fault. You're not being responsible with your money. If your kids have got holes in their shoes, but you can go out drinking every weekend, then that's on you. If you can afford your nice little car, but your kids, haven't got warm clothes in the winter, then you need to check yourself. You got to be really honest, because you're talking about what your effects are having a detrimental effect on the soul of your child. And your child isn't innocent. Your child is an angel until they finish going through puberty, unless they commit sins because of what they're around, and they have the underdeveloped dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, or the chemicals in their brain are messing with their cerebellum and stuff. You're responsible for what they're going to grow up to be. You're molding and shaping them. And if you're feeding them that misery and feeding them that fear, then you have to check yourself and sort yourself out as well. Otherwise, when they grow up, they're going to turn to addiction. They're going to have anger issues. They're going to self-harm. They're going to have depression. They're going to have, perceived mental illnesses, and it's all because of you, because you weren't responsible in the way that you managed your own life in front of your children. Even with everything that I've been through, even with everything that my children have witnessed me go through, I have made sure to maintain that balance with my kids, to have a personal one-on-one relationship with my children, so they know that if they have anything on their mind, if they're going through anything, they can come to me, they can take it out on me, and I'm not going to judge them for it. And I fix what I know I break. Anything that I've gotten wrong in my life, I have gone out of my way to fix, including losing my weight. I didn't realize until recently just how much of an effect my morbid obesity had on my eldest child. And that, as a mother, broke me. He's forgiven me now, but it has left a lasting impact on him. And I have to hold my hand up to that and take personal responsibility for it, because I ate my feelings, because I was in a loveless marriage. I wasn't getting any affection or attention. He wasn't, he changed once we had kids. And suddenly I became public enemy number one. And, we went a whole year without him even physically touching me. He didn't start being physically, he didn't start touching me again or wanting to be sexual until after our marriage ended. And then it was almost like he needed that control to know that he still had it there. And of course, when he wasn't getting it, that's when he was getting angry and trying to take it, which my children didn't know about until recently. They didn't know about any of that. I was asked, why didn't you tell us? And I said, because it wasn't your right to know. I needed to protect you from it. So now you know what to do. And I have videos up about, seances and Ouija boards. I'll put a link in the description below. So if you've got any kids or any young people or anyone you know who is dealing with paranormal poltergeist activity, I'll put a link in the description as well to tell you the difference between, to explain what a ghost and a haunting really is, time bends and time slips. I'll put them in the description box below. But now you know what you're dealing with, so now you know what to do to fix it. And when I build my foundation, when we get out of here and I get my lawsuit money and I build my foundation and I'm able to start producing all my products to sell in the Alchemist Cavern, our little department store, then you'll be able to order this stuff, and then you can just use the spray and use the Tane clay and light the candles and all that, and it will deal with it all for you. Although I will always recommend that you infuse your house with as much love and light as you can, even without my products. Just because you're going through a divorce doesn't mean you can't have love and laughter, within your family unit with the parent that's raising the kids and that. Um, my children and I used to have babysitting night on Friday night when my ex used to lock us inside for the weekend. I took their mind off it by turning it into, I used to call it babysitting night, and we'd get our takeout and we'd watch our movies and play the video games, and we'd just laugh and long into the night. And sometimes we'd all sleep in the same room together, and we'd quite often sleep in the same bed together and bring the junk food in and watch the cartoons and watch the animated movies, and to take their mind off the fact that we were being locked inside and left by a man who was going off to live a double life that he didn't want us to know about, while we were sitting with holes in our clothes and having to live in pajamas because we only had a couple of changes of clothes, while he was going out drinking and smoking and having sex with anyone he could get his hands on online. And he was always buying himself new clothes and new jewelry and new shoes and all of that, while we were left with no food in the fridge and that sort of thing. I turned it into a party. And so now we've said that, when we get out of here, we're still going to have Friday fun night. And we're going to turn Saturdays into make your own pizza night. So I'm going to keep that fun going so nothing changes with them. And when they come here, all they do is eat and sleep and laugh. We talk long into the night. We eat good food. I sacrifice everything that I have so that when they come here, just for those 24 hours, like 30 something hours or whatever, they get my full attention and they have nothing but love and laughter, so that when they go back to him, as I'm told, they spend the then rest of the week looking forward to coming back to me and what they're going to have to eat, and the things that we're going to do and stuff. Like, they love coming here. My youngest loves to burn my incense and make oil blends together and all that sort of thing. And we have cups of tea, and I've now brought out my tea service, which I love, which we're going to do all the time now. I have my teapot that was donated and my little coffee and sugar bowl and all that, and we make our teapot up and we sit in my son's bedroom with our teapot, our pot of tea, and we talk, and we have like my cookies that I make and all. Well, they do, because not gluten free, and it's bringing civility into their life again, and it's made a world of difference to them. Their skin's changing, the way they're carrying themselves, they've calmed right down. My son said coming here is like staying in like a 5-star hotel, because I wait on them hand and foot, just like I did back when we were with him. And so my house, though I don't have the TV and the microwave and the washing machine and, the hot running water and all of that, because I make sure that all my money goes towards feeding them, when they come here, it's filled with love. My son says it always smells really nice here, because I burn my incense and oils and I'm always baking and that. So they say it smells really nice and it's warm and it's inviting, and they just sleep like the dead, because like I alleviate all their worries and all their stresses when they're around me. And then when they go back there, they get wound up with the tension again, and then all they do is focus on coming to mum. I'm the highlight of their week, is coming to me. My son said that, coming to me, he loves knowing when Sunday comes about that everything that he's had to go through during the week is going to end when he comes to me, and then he can just walk through my door, get in his jammies, sit on his beautiful big comfy bed, even though it's like, it's made up of all sorts of things, and then he just gets to eat good food where I wait on them hand and foot, and then we all sit and laugh and talk, and talk about the video games we're going to make, and we have our little meetings and that, and they can just chill. And as a result, there is no paranormal activity. Never has been, because I know how to deal with even the worst that we've gone through, so that it doesn't happen. And now they know what to do with their friends when their friends experience it. And there's been plenty of occasions when my sons have come to me, my eldest son has come to me and said, oh, I saw this online, or my friend said this, and I was able to explain to them, well, that's just because of this, and what you need to do is this. And he said that people always say, oh my God, like, how do you know this stuff? And he says, oh, because my mum taught me, because that's what she does. She's an occult scientist. So now my boys are helping their friends. And when we build our foundation, we will continue to be able to help the other kids, because my kids will be like camp counselors, like camp leaders. The other kids will look to them for leadership, because my children are going into it knowing exactly what to do when their friends, or when the kids are dealing with depression or anger or anxiety or paranormal activity. My boys will know exactly what to do. So I'll put the links in the video in the description box below for why you will wake up sometimes, with sleep paralysis and, sleep paralysis demon, why you'll feel those. I'll put a link in the description box about Ouija boards and seances, and also explaining what ghosts and hauntings really are. And then if you're experiencing it, or you know someone who's experiencing any of it, or you've got children experiencing it, before you take them to counsellors and put them on medication, or turn to YouTube or people like bloody Chip Coffey, who had that show, which is what prompted me to do all of this in the first place, because I was so mad at the lies that he was telling these parents and the children about what they were dealing with, just perpetuating the situation and making it worse. It made me want to do my blog. My blog was originally for teaching children how to deal with people like Chip bloody Coffee Cup. I call him Chip Coffee Cup. Chip Coffee. I call him Chip Coffee Cup. But, yeah, so now you know what to do. And obviously, when we start making our TV shows, I'll be able to show you what to do, because I'll go to these locations and I'll be able to use my sprays and my clays and, do my investigations, and we'll have the foundation, and we'll have the products, and we'll have the shows, and, and then I'll be able to show you. And I'll have the radio show as well, where you'll be able to call in and email in and, type in, because I'll do like live, put them live on YouTube and all that as well, where you'll be able to ask me your questions, and I'll be able to answer them, and you'll be able to tell me your situation, and I'll be able to explain it to you. Okay? So if you know anyone that needs to hear this, pass it on. But, check everything in the description box as well. And then we've got all your bases covered for hauntings, your sleep paralysis demons, and your poltergeist activity, and even possessions. Okay? So I'm going to go now. I had been working on doing this all day. I was just trying to formulate what I was going to say. So I'm going to go now, because I need to get some sleep, because I've got to get up early and get stuff underway for the arrival of my boys. So I will speak to you later. Hold your head up high, and if you have any questions, just when I put this up on the community notes on my YouTube, or like on my Instagram, just leave a comment in the comments thingy and ask your questions there. Okay? Or you can like DM me on Instagram. And I'll speak to you later. Hold your head up high and know that you are loved. Ka kite anō. Mwah.